Hello everyone, and welcome to today's MaritzCX presentation called Connecting the Dots, How Employee Engagement Drives Stellar Customer Experiences. I'm Ryan Smith. I'm a member of the MaritzCX Marketing Department, and I'll be moderating today's webcast. On behalf of MaritzCX, we're glad you've taken the time to join us for this session. We have a very large audience on the call today, and so we appreciate the interest in this topic. Before I introduce today's speakers, let me tell you that we are recording this event. So shortly after today's live webcast, in fact within the next 24 hours, you'll receive a link to the recorded presentation. The presentation link will be posted on the resource library of MaritzCX.com as well for future reference. Secondly, we value your input, so please feel free to ask questions or provide comments during the event by simply entering them in the question box below. We anticipate about a 10-minute Q&A period once the presentation is complete, in which we'll address those questions and comments. With that, I'm excited to introduce today's speakers. We have Kimberly Abel-Lanier, who is Vice President and General Manager of Merit's Motivation Solutions. In this role, she's responsible for leading the strategy and development of the company's employee engagement solution called CultureNext. Kimberly has over 20 years of experience in employee engagement strategies and has worked with many Fortune 500 brands. She is passionate about helping companies create a culture of engagement and purpose, and believes in making the world a better place to work. J.D. Jepson is Vice President of Business Development and Partnerships for MaritzCX. He has spent more than 20 years driving revenue through direct and indirect channels and is responsible for driving MaritzCX global business development and partnering strategy. He has extensive experience in sales and sales leadership in an array of technology markets, including computer telephony, CRM, speech recognition, customer experience, database technology, and sales automation. Now with that, we'll kick it over to JD to start. Thanks, JD.
Thank you, Ryan. And on behalf of Kim and myself, we'd also like to express how excited we are for the positive response that this webinar has seemed to yield. Earlier this year, MaritzCX and Merit's Motivation Solutions, CultureNext, announced a partnership. And over the last couple of months, we made that announcement at our CX Fusion event in Las Vegas. And over the last couple of months, we've been working together to integrate our solutions and be able to provide a real compelling solution to the marketplace, to our joint customers and prospects alike. Let me highlight something that we've had a passion about for years and years, and that is how compelling the phenomenon of employee engagement is in the larger landscape of driving superior customer experience. We're pretty well networked out there with an impressive array of industry analysts, consultants, large enterprise customers, customers of all sizes. And as we have sought aggressively feedback from all of these audiences about what are those trends or what are those priorities that they see rising to the top of concern when it comes to delivering a superior customer experience, overwhelmingly we've received confirmation that more and more are focused on how they can drive greater engagement with their employees as a critical component of that. And so this partnership is something we're excited about. Let me give you a little more context for a lot of our discussion today. About a year ago, we identified a need in the marketplace. Customer experience professionals across all industries and situations were by and large dissatisfied with the success that they were having at driving customer experience improvement over time. At the same time, it became clear that customer experience was a crucial component of strategically differentiating a company from its competitive landscape. More than ever before, senior executives see the importance of this. They're focused on customer experience as a core strategy, but there's this want to drive greater results from their investment. So we set out to build this model, and that it would help companies understand where they lie in the in the maturity of their strategy. And more importantly, what would they have to do to be successful at serving customers while growing their business? In this model, we identified 6 dimensions or disciplines, if you will. And so let's review those quickly, and then this will all be brought full circle back to the point of today's webinar, and it's employee engagement as a core component of that. First off, organizations need to look at the customer. What services and strategies they've got in place, how are they going to respond to those customers, and in what means that the customer might expect. Secondly is the structure. Have they designed the right organizational structure and implemented the right governance around that structure to, again, protect that customer's experience? Next are the processes that they put in place. Were they designed with the customer impact in mind? Have they consistently applied those processes, expanded the knowledge around how those processes influence the customers? Are they properly documented? The next dimension is of information. Are they allowing for information to be gathered from all of the necessary sources around the customer's journey in their experience, and have they integrated those various sources of information so that you can extract the right level of insights from them? Now we get more to the point of our message today, which is around the culture. So do the employees identify with the culture that that organization is trying to deliver to the marketplace? Do they believe in it? Are they committed to it and sustaining it? And with regards to the 6th dimension or discipline around people, have they identified the right hiring and training policies and practices? Have they implemented the right rewards and incentive programs that are going to drive employees to the correct behavior, resulting in superior customer experience? And have they empowered those employees with the appropriate level of discretion to resolve customer issues? So a result of developing this model was to identify 8 different stages of maturity. And, this ranged from apathetic, where companies seemingly ignore their customers, all the way up to the nirvana of customer experience, which is reaching the level of enculturate. And the question is, as an organization improves along this continuum, what's in it for them? Like, what are the returns that they have from this investment they're making? It's actually a pretty significant one. In a large global study that we've done, and with our experience in this CX maturity assessment model that we've built, we've learned that organizations that are placed at the enculturate stage of the maturity are 3 times more likely to yield significant improvement in both financial performance metrics, as they define them, as well as increase in customer retention. And yet, of the close to now 6,000 participants in this survey, we've learned that almost 90% of the companies that have been assessed find themselves in the lower half of this continuum. So there's a significant opportunity here. Well, naturally, as we've conducted this study, we then had to take a hard look at the services that we bring to market. Now, we've developed a myriad of technology and other professional services that address these disciplines. And you can see here the 8 stages across the top and the 6 dimensions or disciplines down the left-hand margin. And there are a number of services that underlie each one of these dimensions or disciplines. And a big part of MaritzCX strategy is to refine those services we bring to market in areas where we don't necessarily address a need overtly. We've set out to find partnerships that can. And that's one of the things we're most excited about through this partnership is with CultureNext. Specifically, we've found a partner that directly addresses the dimension of people and culture. through the rewards and recognition programs that they run, through the technology platform that they offer, and in their ability to impact culture, resulting in employees identifying with and believing in the culture that an organization is set out to achieve, and their commitment to modeling that culture, if you will. And so I want to pause here and turn it over to my good friend Kim, and let Kim go in and explain a little bit more about the observation of employee engagement and the ramification or the implications that it has on customer experience. But this is powerful stuff. Kim, let me turn it over to you.
Thanks, JD, and I couldn't agree more with your statements that this is big, powerful stuff, and certainly on the top of many leadership teams' minds out there in terms of the top things that they're talking about and thinking about. Being a great place to work starts with reviewing and intentionally architecting your culture. And we know that culture and engagement are linked. They're similar, but a good way to think about the distinction between culture and engagement is that culture is more kind of how things work around here. It's the unwritten rules of the organization, and it's something that everybody can speak to without having to look at a policy manual or a guide. It's the way things really work around here. And engagement, a good way to think about engagement is the way people feel about the way things work around here. And they're inextricably linked, but there's some distinction between the two in terms of culture and engagement. And many of you might be asking the question in terms of what does that have to do with a customer experience and creating loyal customers. Well, customers feel the impact of whether or not employees are engaged. We know that 91% of unhappy customers will never again do business with a company if they had a bad experience. And we also know that many customers have bailed before even becoming a full customer, completing a transaction because of a negative service experience. And this is supported also, and why it's important to many leadership teams, is that they know that the cost of acquiring a new customer is 6 to 7 times that of keeping one that they already have happy and connected to the business. So many of you have heard about the Gallup survey that almost 2/3 to 3/4 of your workforce is disengaged, and that makes it a big business problem or challenge. Conversely, the value of great customer service, if you have a workforce that is engaged, that feels that their work is meaningful, that they're connected to a purpose, and that purpose includes the impact that their service makes on creating a great service experience, great customer experiences can be a huge competitive advantage in the marketplace. And we know that when customers have great experience, they spend more, they stay longer, they come back, they tell their friends. The impact of loyal customers who've had great experiences and how they socialize it is significant. We also know that most of your customers have some type of interaction with your workforce on a regular basis, whether that's your sales force, whether that's your customer service, your call center, your service technician. They're interacting with your organization and your workforce on a regular basis, and that makes the engagement levels of your employees pretty darn important. In fact, I'd even go so far as to say there's a moment of truth. A lot is riding on the interaction between the employee and the customer. It's much more than just a simple business transaction. You're looking to create your differentiator as a brand and as an organization in terms of what you stand for. So this connection between employees and a great customer experience is a extremely powerful one, perhaps one of the most powerful ones that you can really affect as a leadership, part of your organization's leadership in terms of improving the overall outcomes. When we look at the different kind of transactions that your customers can have with your organization, they kind of run a gamut. On the lower right-hand side, you see process transactions, and this is when just the transaction happened as a matter of course, nothing horrible happens, nothing great happens, and it's not very memorable. Employees can feel that they've done what they're supposed to do, what they're getting paid to do, but the customers, it really isn't making a great impression in terms of, you know, if they're going to recommend you or decide to spend more with you. So we call that kind of a process level transaction. On the downside, defection intersection, where neither the employee or the customer is satisfied, where you've got frustrated employees, they're not empowered, they can't do what they need to do in order to meet the needs of the customer, and the customers are unhappy because they feel that their needs weren't met, that they weren't heard, things are not resolved, and this is where you can lose business, and the social effect can be even more devastating with the increase of social media and posting reviews and so forth. In terms of the upper left quadrant, a pleasant surprise is kind of a random act of kindness by an employee, and it's very meaningful to the customer. It's hard to scale that inside of an organization, but customers are very happy, and that's what's kind of known as a pleasant surprise. The real power, though, is what we call magic moments, where both the customers and employees are highly engaged, highly connected. We have a delighted customer. This is where the satisfaction in the experience is powerful enough to be remarkable. And eventually it leads to something we call cult loyalty, in terms of people who prefer your brand over another similar brand, even sometimes willing to pay a premium for that level of service and satisfaction. But the other aspect of the magic moments is that it is also very powerful for the employee. Increasingly with millennials and Generation Z, we see that segment of the workforce wanting to connect to a higher sense of purpose or meaning, and to feel that their work really makes an impact on not only the business, the customers, the ultimate beneficiary of their service, but also the world. And you make that difference one customer at a time. These magic moments can be very, very powerful. So we've been investing in a lot of things around employee engagement. There has been a lot of different ways to define it, a lot of different ways to think about it, and that goes with your customer experience solution as well. So it's really important, and JD, I'd invite you here to comment and chime in, but to do this very systematically and strategically and connect the dots between your customer experience, your measurement, and your programs and your processes, to kind of break the cycle of random investments and look at this very holistically and strategically.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kim, and we're actually going to touch on it a little bit later, but this goes back to having a model that you can measure yourself in various different competencies, understanding more acutely where your organization is very successful at implementing the right services and the right tools to drive engagement and to drive an improved experience, and also having the right tool to identify in what areas, if you make that investment, you're going to cause the greatest lift. I'll come back and address that a little bit more.
Thanks, Judy. I think a lot of the data that you've seen so far on this material, and probably have read outside of this webinar experience, shows that there is a critical precursor to customer satisfaction, and that's having a culture that emphasizes service, that connects the dots between employees and customers and the impact they make and how the work that they do is meaningful, and focusing on ensuring that your employees are engaged and willing to go that extra mile to give a great service experience. As we talked about a few minutes ago, a great customer experience starts with engaged employees, and we talked about how culture is how things work around here, and engagement is more around how people feel about the way things work around here. And many of you spend a lot of time and money measuring engagement inside your organization, but the measurement piece is only part of the equation. What you do with that data to intentionally move the needle on employee engagement is the other, probably even more than half of the equation. And at CultureNext, one of the things we look to support our clients with are program experiences that can affect how people feel about the work that they're doing. Those program experiences are intentionally developed to ensure that people have a line of sight to how important their work is, how what they do affects how customers feel about not only them but their organization, and how all of that connects to a higher sense of purpose. I'd like to share, kind of bring this to life a little bit, all the data and the research through kind of a case study. And this case study is a very large hospitality company in the entertainment industry with more than 70,000 employees across 40 properties. With this hospitality company, they are highly motivated to keep people on their property because they spend more. They spend more on shows, they spend more in adult entertainment opportunities, they eat at the restaurants, they are able to spend more within if they stay on the property. So guest satisfaction is hugely important to them to keep them on the property. So they have developed some core values, some core behaviors that are part of driving a service-centric culture, and they use a combination of no-cost, day-to-day recognition and reinforcement for providing great service, and they also use a reward currency that is connected to the customer service and experience scores. So when a property achieves a certain customer satisfaction score, all the employees in that property receive reward points that they can spend on things like travel, entertainment, valuable merchandise, top luxury brands. And over the course of the last 5 years, guest satisfaction has improved year over year, every year. And this organization has also been able to document that their guests are spending an average of 3 to 13% more because of that higher satisfaction rate on their property. They have converted this program previously that was 7 or 8 years ago from a cash program to a points-based program. While they're spending less in points than they did in cash, the results are much, much better because the employees are able to socialize it, they're able to talk about it. This has become part of the fabric of their culture and how they talk about service internally. More than 130,000 rewards were redeemed by this employee base within the last year or so. So this is a great testament and example how program experiences, and there are several different programs running at any given time within this example, but the most notable one is recognizing and rewarding for great customer experience scores and allowing the employees to recognize each other for service level behaviors. So this has made a huge impact on this company's organization, and they've won many awards within for not only employee engagement, Recognition Professionals International, and many, many others. So this is a great example to highlight. So the power of integrating customer experience and employee engagement is just, as JD said a little bit a few slides ago, very, very, very powerful. Employees are connected to customer feedback. They have a line of sight to their value. They feel that the organization cares enough about their work to recognize their contribution, to reward them for certain outcomes. And we don't want to forget the role of the manager in this process either. They can highlight and recognize those magic moments we talked about when they happen so that they'll increase the likelihood of them happening again. JD, I'm going to turn it back over to you to talk a little bit about the process of how, through this partnership, we're able to help connect the data and the dots between customer experience and employee engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Kim. And I want to pause and bring something to light here. So, as a CX technology platform provider, we're excited about our ability to help organizations measure and manage customer experience programs, as well as turn the deployment of our technologies towards employee-centric audiences. And we've been doing this for years, and so we have templates around the right types of surveys to run and to be able to measure the employee experience and the employee engagement as well. But very unique in this partnership, together we not only deliver the right platform to measure and manage and drive insights around that experience and that engagement level, but actually together and largely through CultureNext now have programs that impact it, that promote engagement, and that result in the positive change and improvement around culture. And so let's talk a little bit about how our technology, our solutions work together. So depicted here is this cycle. Let's start at the top. When an organization understands and realizes it needs to drive a better customer experience, how do they do that? First, they're going to need to be able to select a CX platform that allows them to go and gather data, collect feedback from their customers through a myriad of different channels, whether it be through the phone, through email, through social tools, over the web, and then aggregate that data with other important data that's already understood and known about their customers. Well, the MaritzCX platform achieves that and then brings that data together through impressive dashboards and reports, applying sophisticated and advanced analytical engines, text analytics, predictive analytics, and other tools to be able to maximize what insights an organization can glean from their CX platform and from their strategy. Now what we do is we have that technology, that platform from MaritzCX then automates a file transfer delivered from MaritzCX to CultureNext, where points can be automatically applied to a rewards or an incentive program. customers can name employees in their efforts to resolve their issues, to highlight those employees for exceptional type of service that they rendered, whatever the case may be. And based on the integration of our two platforms, that we can provide a rules-based alert functionality that triggers an email going to a particular manager, frontline manager, or other, with details around that recent customer feedback that was received. This data and these types of call-outs from customers regarding employees then get incorporated in the CultureNext platform and trigger certain rewards or incentives, recognizing those employees as engaged and as going above and beyond to deliver that customer experience. The whole point of this webinar highlights that then with a more engaged employee, they're going to be motivated and more culturally driven to deliver on that promise of a better customer experience. And now we have this cycle that perpetuates and builds on itself and really complements, these two technologies complement an organization's overall strategy to drive engagement and improved customer experience. Let's call out a few of the features and the benefits of CultureNext platform and what it adds to MaritzCX. So again, CultureNext in summary helps to manage and deliver employee engagement programs, rewards, and incentive programs. It facilitates rewards programs around customer sat scores. It integrates customer and employee feedback together. In partnership, we're working aggressively to complement the CX maturity assessment model that MaritzCX has previously delivered to market. In fact, many in our audience, we understand, will have participated in that assessment. Well, CultureNext is offering a similar type of model around employee engagement. We're excited about what they're doing there. We're working with them on that in partnership. CultureNext brings design labs to the table, and through their own dashboards and reporting capabilities within their platform, which is scalable, it's software as a service. We're really excited about the integration that we have between the two platforms, available in multiple languages, etc. If you step back and you look then at the mission that an organization has, which is to drive the maximum amount of employee engagement possible so that it has that positive spillover effect on their ability to differentiate themselves from their competition in delivering a superior customer experience, think of it as a large puzzle. And we together form the pieces of this puzzle, delivering a powerful and integrated solution. So with MaritzCX and CultureNext working together, you can optimize the visibility around the information and the action that you can take at each customer touch point. This creates a continuous improvement cycle that's going to help you retain your employees and your customers longer while growing revenue as an organization. And so together, Kim and I would like to extend an invitation for those that are attending this webinar. Where do we go from here? Like I said, we understand that many will have already participated in the MaritzCX maturity assessment. For those that haven't, we invite you to go to this link that you see there on your screen and participate in that assessment. But next, the results that come from that may bring to light that your organization could use some work in the areas of the people and the culture dimensions or disciplines of your customer experience strategy. And that's when together in partnership, MaritzCX, CultureNext will work together to consult with you and prescribe, if you will, the appropriate action plan, how you can invest to create the biggest lift possible in the maturity of your engagement and experience strategies. And so we would invite you to reach out to either of us, and on the next slide I'll deliver the contact information, but to schedule a review of your model, your strategy, and allow us an opportunity to deliver an opinion on where we think that your investment would derive the greatest results. So I'm showing here my contact information because depending on your geography, where you're at, there would be a particular sales director at MaritzCX that I would want to introduce you to, and so you're welcome to reach out to me directly and I can broker that introduction. On the CultureNext side, we have Don O'Brien, who can serve that similar type role. And again, where a holistic approach or review needs to happen, where we look at employee engagement, we look at customer experience and the strategies there, we'll partner together to discuss with you what is the right action plan for you to take. So again, thank you for taking time thus far in the webinar. We want to make sure you know we'll go through questions that have been posed during the webinar, and Kim and I are happy to take the time necessary to address and answer those questions. But we're excited to have had this opportunity to present this material. Ryan, I think we'll turn it back over to you now and let you, maybe pitch forward a few of the questions.
Great. Thank you, JD, and thank you, Kimberly. That was fantastic. We always get a lot of demand, like I said, for this conversation of the intersection between employee engagement and customer experience. So here are some of the questions that have been asked throughout. One of the first ones is, what kinds of CX data can you feed into your employee engagement and rewards system, and can you share an example of how that might work?
Maybe I can take that, and Kim, feel free to chime in if you'd like. So the types of data, again, feedback programs often allow for quantitative and qualitative response from customers. And those can be designed in a way that may call out a particular employee, what that employee did to make the difference and have that magical moment with that customer. That call out of employees can be captured and fed right into the CultureNext platform that they can then take and drive the right reward or incentive that has been designed in their program to reward that employee. That data can also populate leaderboards and other reports, both in the CultureNext platform as well as in the MaritzCX platform, so that managers can track those employees, or even at a branch level, what branches are performing at the highest levels relative to the incentive programs and the rewards programs that have been designed.
I think it's more easy. It's easier to comprehend this from a branch level or from a retail level. But can you think of any B2B examples, you or Kimberly, where you're getting this kind of feedback about individual employees and they're still getting rewarded? I mean, it's easy to apply to retail, but maybe sometimes it takes a little bit of effort to realize that B2B really isn't that much different than retail.
I want to allow for Kim to comment here, but I will chime in and say, you're exactly right. The science of human engagement is consistent, regardless of whether you're a B2C or a B2B. We all still are intrinsically motivated by reward and recognition, and we want to perform relative to our peers. And so a B2B model would be where a particular employee is interfacing with a large audience of businesses that their business model addresses. So they're still going to be given certain stewardship and responsibility to make sure that those business customers are properly addressed and serviced and are influenced just like the individuals of the B2C model. Kim, do you want to add anything there?
I sure would. I'd like to do it by way of an example that is very real. So we have a current client that is a extremely large consultancy, and they sell services to businesses, and it takes a cross-functional work team often to deliver these very large-scale services type projects to clients. And because they're one of the best in the world at what they do, or their brand would suggest that, they are interested in securing transaction-level client feedback on the different deliverable components of an engagement. So when that transaction-level feedback comes in, this client has the opportunity for a manager to link recognition or reward directly to the customer feedback that has been provided as a result of their experience. So picture this, if you will, by way of an example. They have a deliverable, they give it to a client, they get a short transaction level feedback survey on their mobile phone. They give the quick, simple ratings in less than 2 minutes. The employees on the service deliverer side have 10, 12 of these on a given month, and their manager can decide to give them a reward or some additional recognition based on certain levels of scores based on customer feedback. So that's a good example of a B2B, high-level services environment that goes beyond just kind of a more consumer-driven example. So I agree with you, it's completely applicable whether it's B2B or B2C.
Great, thank you, Kim. Another question, and it's really interesting as these come in, that the traditional response to this kind of thing is to think initially of customer service and reacting to customer feedback, but this question talks more about how to be proactive in addressing problems. This person says, in my organization, the customer service folks are great. Our challenge is getting the product and IT development folks to build products and tools that enhance the customer experience and then lead to fewer calls in the customer service department. Is your program primarily focused on customer service, or is there a way you can roll it out to be more proactive?
This is Kim. I love that question because I think it's easier to focus on those frontline folks, but you also have to couple that with the concept of internal customer service. Your employees are never going to treat your customers better than they treat each other. And I think that's important for organizations to realize it's not just about including program experiences for those mission-critical frontline workforces, but also to supplement a program portfolio with program experiences that drive and reinforce internal customer service and satisfaction between departments. We all have been in organizations, and we all know the power of silos and organizational politics that are out there, and that's why it's important to include program experiences that address customer service internally as well as externally.
That's great. Thank you, Kim. Another question, this one's a little bit complex. I think I've read through it a couple times, but I think I've made sense of it. It says, how important is it to respond to the customer survey? I've heard that it's a best practice to close the feedback loop. So they're talking about once the surveys come in, how important is it to respond to the person that submitted the survey? And is the cost of establishing a team to respond and send communication to our customers after a survey going to come back financially in customer loyalty? Is there any research done on companies that have done that in the past? I don't know if you guys have that kind of experience where you have research on the value of responding to customer feedback, the cost of that as well.
Well, I might comment first on the first half of that question, which is we think it's absolutely a best practice whenever possible to demonstrate a response. In fact, the inverse is something that we have great experience in, where we have organizations, there's a lot of research that suggests if you go through asking questions, especially where you offer verbatim opportunity for qualitative comments to come back and you do nothing with that, that's worse than even than not asking the question at all, because they're going to inherently expect some sort of response. The nature of a lot of strategies, the reality is that many survey programs don't go responded to, and so maybe we've jaded a little bit the audiences and have caused them to not really expect to hear back. But when you do, you have a significant opportunity to turn potentially a detractor or someone who has more aggressive negative feelings towards your organization to a promoter, or to someone who feels very fond and delighted about your organization because you chose to respond and resolve. you can cause them to swing all the way to the other end of the positive end of that spectrum. So it is really important. We've felt that and have experienced that for years and years as we've designed our platform. It's one of the reasons why we didn't just go to market with an ad hoc survey tool that allows you to collect and gather data, but rather have built into that platform a case management functionality to allow for the response and the closed loop experience with those particular customers.
And to roll that up into an action planning plan as well. So not only are you responding, but you're taking a collection of responses and dealing with issues on a roll-up level.
Absolutely. Both when someone has gone out of their, taken the time to voice when they want to highlight an excellent performance by an employee, as well as, unfortunately, maybe they're going to highlight something that really disgruntled them about their experience. And so you need to be able to show humanity and respond to both of those. And Kim may have some ideas of the value of demonstrating that response by a reward gesture to the employee that was commended. That would be more, if you've had experience, Kim, I don't know, with that the value of that, demonstrating to the customer that you're taking action with the employees appropriately. I'll let you chime in real quick, Kim.
I think anytime you can demonstrate that to the customer that they've been heard, and to the employee that they've been seen, and that the contribution by both parties is valued by the organization, making sure that those feedback loops are closed on the customer side tells them that you value their input. The fact that they took the time, obviously you hope the feedback is positive, but even if it's not, if you're engaged in dialogue, you're being given an opportunity to respond. So it is powerful to close that loop, and if that customer is engaged, I think through things like loyalty programs, making sure that they feel appropriately valued by the organization or the brand is important. And then on the employee side, looking at that performance over time, not just at the transaction or the interaction level on a single instance, but looking at that performance on a monthly, quarterly, annual basis, and incorporating their customer feedback scores as part of the performance review. It makes it a richer evaluation process, because it's not just the manager or not just the peers, it's customers weighing in on this employee's performance, and it will contribute to a deeper, richer view of how that employee is contributing to the organization.
That's great, Kim, and that was actually the next question I was going to ask is, your reward system's probably set up to either reward on a case-by-case basis or on a monthly, quarterly sort of roll-up way as well. The question came, so does this program only support recognition that comes via feedback, or is there a way to use this as a more comprehensive rewards program?
Great. Another great question. It's definitely comprehensive. We're not, through this partnership, we're not advocating a single type of program. I mean, you need a program experience strategy and portfolio that might include day-to-day, no-cost recognition around service climate behaviors. We gave you the example through the hospitality company where rewards are given for customer experience scores. We talked about the value of recognizing other segments of the workforce for internal customer service and satisfaction. We also have others that recognize service champions or top performers to promote role models. And we talked about collecting transaction-level customer feedback, and for certain scores at a transactional level, linking rewards to it. So that's a lot to digest, but oftentimes when an organization is looking to get started to create program experiences, we'll start with one or two, and this will grow over time as you want to add more programs to your portfolio to precision target other goals and objectives that you have. So it can be very comprehensive, but it's also a good idea to get started at a very simple level, easy level that the organization can process. So just like on the maturity model that JD introduced you to, it really depends on where you are as an organization in terms of maturity on your current engagement and recognition programs too. That's a factor in it.
And Kim, let me add something I think is worth highlighting here as well. That screams the importance of making sure that the technology platform you invest in has flexibility inherently in it. So as your program matures and as it evolves and you want to add a couple more rewards programs or even a couple more feedback programs to go, you gain intelligence, you make observations about some other aspects of the business you need to better understand. You want to make sure you have a flexible architecture that will allow you to grow and flex with that and add incremental programs without having to overhaul and re-architect it from the ground up. So you can leverage the investment you've made and then expand and mature with flexibility as you grow.
Great, thanks JD and Kim. One last question for Kim, and then I think we need to wrap up. We've got so many good questions coming in. We'll address some of those via email. If you haven't had your question answered, we'll do that after the session. We'll follow up with you. Kim, the last question is pretty interesting. How do you prevent employees from gaming the system, particularly, say, at a car dealership where they're talking about service quality or something like that?
Wow, good question. There's a couple different ways. Number one, the system has fraud alerts built into the platform, and that's typically around when you see a lot of recognition or rewards flowing between certain individuals back and forth, kind of an I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. I think what the question is more referring to is like around sales incentives or, hey, I'm going to put a couple of these orders in my desk drawer and wait for the next period because I've already met my quota, those types of gaming philosophies. And it can be approached several different ways. One is through thoughtful program design to make sure that the rule structure that you're putting into place eliminates a lot of need for gaming, and that there's an opportunity for everyone to participate in a lot of the different programs. So between the fraud alerts and a well-designed program and kind of an overall rule structure, we really don't see a lot of gaming in our clients' programs. Like with the hospitality example that we shared in terms of program design, the customer experience scores, which come through a platform like CX, that really can't be gamed. The rule structure is around the customer score achievement levels, and everybody at that property gets the same level of points. And then on the e-card, the day-to-day recognition, there really isn't the incentive to game because there's no rewards associated with it other than a heartfelt thank you from your co-worker. And managers, if they see great superstar, rock star performance, they have the discretion to add some points or rewards to that particular performance. But really then you're talking about leadership accountability. So that's the kind of, those are just some examples around how you can mitigate gaming through strong program design.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. That was great. And we're really excited about this partnership. Obviously, Kim and team really know what they're doing as far as on the CultureNext side, and we're really excited about what the power that they bring to our platform. So thank you for joining today. Just a reminder, this was recorded, and it will be sent out within the next day. I hope you have a great day, and let us know how we can help you. Bye-bye.